let's get back to Brighton and get some reaction from the Manchester City dressing room.
Vincent, the opening day went pretty much as you would have wished.
Yeah, I mean, we had to be patient. The first half, they were defending well. They were well organised. You could see that they had a clear game plan. But you know, we've got quality in the team, and eventually, it made the difference.
That's the secret. Patience. Didn't get frustrated. Kept plugging away.
Yeah, I think, you know, we knew what their game plan was going to be, you know, to sit back and, you know, defend. You know, probably a draw would have been a very good result for them, but we needed the win. Opening day of the season, it's always good to get off to a good start, so we're happy.
And you've got so many attacking options, Vincent. Sergio Aguero missed his one. He's not going to miss two, is he?
No. I mean, you're talking about attacking options. We know it in training, of course, because we have to face them every day. But the season is going to be long, and like I said, today was an improvement on a lot of things we've done last season. I mean, we had a 5-minute spell where we were under pressure. We put our bodies in. We did some important tackles, and then eventually we got the goal because we were patient, like you said. So ultimately, a lot of positive things to take out of this game, and we kind of build on the pre-season we had.
And how's the switch been for you, Carl? What's it like working with Pep instead of Mauricio?
No, I mean, it's different. They both have their certain ways of managing and how we want to play, but, you know, it's positive. I'm enjoying working with the lads. You know, everyone's been so welcoming. Obviously, being at such a club for 8-9 years, it was a big change for me, but, you know, I'm enjoying it, and, you know, I'm enjoying my football.
And you still get licensed to bomb forward, even more so, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Vinny will have to mop up for me now.
I'm constantly in his ear.
But, you know, I'm enjoying my football. You know, it's better to play with a smile on your face.
Well, you must have done a good job, Vincent, because Carl's one man of the match. Can you present that for?
Excuse me? Yeah, congratulations, mate. Too many more.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Cheers, lads.
Cheers, thank you.
Not for me. That was a bit of a surprise, I have to say. Kyle Walker, man of the match.
I thought he was pretty quiet today, Carl. I mean, he had a lot of the ball, but, you know, we normally see him for Tottenham racing past the opposition full-back, getting crossing after cross. And when he's playing that wing-back for Man City, and the same for Danilo, they never impose themselves enough. And I don't think it was their fault, because City never used them. They should have been higher and wider. And when Danilo sometimes was crossing, Kyle Walker was still too far wide. He should have been attacking the back post. He's capable of doing that. I thought, for his standards, for Kyle Walker's standards, I wouldn't agree that he was the man of the match today, no. What
did you make of City? I asked you that question half-time, and we were all, I think, a little disappointed. What about come 90 minutes?
I thought they'd done the job. They got over the first game of the season, which can always be, as we've seen, you know, not always the easiest. And I thought they did improve. I would have picked De Bruyne as man of the match. I thought he was the one who actually tried to take a little bit of the fight and try and make some key moments for Manchester City. So they'll be delighted with the result. I think we're all expected to see a better Manchester City, and I'm sure we will in the coming weeks.
It was, again, said at the start, was this a good day to play them? We didn't know. A lot of atmosphere and a lot of charged electricity inside that stadium from Brighton fans. And City have done a job there.
City have done a good job. You know, going to Brighton, a newly promoted team, you know, how well Chris Hughton's done with Brighton, you know, it was never going to be easy. So that's why I think they went about it well. You know, Brighton had one or two opportunities in the second half where they could have maybe nicked a goal, but in the end, I mean, you couldn't say that Brighton deserved it. You know, Manchester City deserved to win.
They're going to have to do what they did today. What we saw today from City, I think they're going to have to do a lot this season, particularly away from home, probably at home as well. Is they're going to face teams and they're going to have to be patient. And if anything, I thought that was one of their better qualities today. They were patient. They never tried to change what they were doing. They just kept going. It's like they had the belief, well, if they make a mistake, like they did there, and they give it away cheaply, then look how quickly they get 4 players high up the pitch. And then once you've given it to De Bruyne, then he gives it to Silva, who then gives it to Aguero. It's kind of inevitable what's going to happen here. Had a chance early on, he doesn't miss this one. And I think, I just got the feeling as the game was going on, I was saying to the guys that you just felt a goal was going to come. It might have taken 85 minutes, Richard, but you just felt they would find a way through. And they've got to do that. They've got to be aware that they're going to have to do that a lot, I think, this season. That kind of performance.
One led to the suggestion there was more, didn't it? You thought they were going on to get at least a second, maybe more than that.
I actually thought when they got the first one that Brighton would have come out a little bit more for the equaliser, but they didn't really do that. And when you've got, like Andy says, they've got players in the team who've got extra special quality, and that's unfortunate. There's a bit of a strange one from the big centre half. Dungo had a good game. But to be fair to City as well, it's the first game of the season. I'm guessing the pitch was dry and slow. They're always trying to break down 11 Brighton defenders because they had everybody behind the ball in their own half and deep. No blame to Chris Houghton for that. They don't blame him for setting up like that and trying to stifle Man City. But they've always got that bit of quality and they can do something for nothing. That's an unfortunate goal from Dunk. The keeper should have done a lot better.
I was just about to ask there, could he have helped his mate
No,
a bit more?
he should have helped his mate out there. That's come at him there. He hasn't got a dive, and I think he'd be disappointed in the outcome of that.
But you don't look back on moments for Brighton, David, where you say they were unlucky there, do you? If any?
No, they had a couple of shots which ricocheted round the box a couple of times.
Maybe just
But no, you're right. I think Brighton tried to make sure that they didn't come away with an outrageously bad result, and I don't think they did. I think they've lost 2-0 to a good Manchester City team. Yeah. I think you could see the crowd's appreciation of what they think of Brighton just now, and I think Brighton will take a little bit of confidence, even though it's a defeat. They'll take a little bit from it.
And after last year, you'll know full well that mistakes by defenders such as that we saw led to the first goal. You just cannot do that in this league, can you?
No, you can't, and you're right. And I think that'll be the biggest shock for Brighton when you come into the Premier League. They punish you, especially the really good teams. If you make mistakes, they will get punished. And I think Matt Ryan made a similar mistake in a pre-season friendly where the ball sort of went through him. So in that moment, you're hoping that he bails you out, that he makes a save of sorts. And while if it was stayed 1-0, Brighton were always in with a chance of maybe taking a point or something from the game.
You can plan all you like though when players do that. Yeah. It doesn't matter, does it?
No, it doesn't. When you make mistakes in any game, it's going to cost you. And I think Brighton made mistakes that the midfield player got caught in the ball. De Bruyne robbed him of the ball, and they went on to score the first one, and then the second one was we couldn't understand why the centre half was heading it back in towards his goal, but when he did, I was hoping that the goalkeeper helps me out and stops it.
I just think do you know what they've done? What's good? One of the good things for Chris today is they'll have spoken a lot during the summer about what to expect. Chris knows about the Premier League. He's coached there. He's been there. He knows what the highest level of football requires. A lot of his players don't, with the greatest respect to them. This is completely new to them. So what they've done today, they've learned, or they should, if they're going to survive, they need to learn very quickly that this is a punishing league. It's an unforgiving league. If you make errors in bad places against good teams, where you might get away with it in the Championship, you don't here. Not often. So I think they should learn very quickly, this is what we're up against. This was a tough day at the office, and they're not all going to be like that. It's so important to stress that. They're going to have good days, Brighton, particularly at home. So take what you've learned from that. What have you learned? What we need to do. We need to be disciplined. We need to cut down on the individual errors of our football team, if we can, and not make it easier than it should be for the teams we're playing against.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of teams in the Premier League who are going to be fighting at the bottom. Yeah. And if the fixture list is tough and it's harsh on you, you could go a month or 5 or 6 games, you could have 4 defeats, 2 draws, because your home games could be Man United and Man City, and your away games could be against anybody that are really tough. This league is really punishing.
And that presumably means you've got to become a whole lot more tough mentally, because last year you were winning virtually every week. This year,
different mindset.
Probably losing nearly every week.
Different mindset for Brighton this year. And I think Andy's right, Chris has got experience in this league. He's been there before, where at Norwich fighting for their lives, where you've got to get into that mindset of, look, we may lose this week, as long as we know, we've got a game plan. We go, what we can't do is have our chins on our chest and let that feeling stagnate and everybody's like this all week, and then before you know it, the next game's on your doorstep, and you've got to be up for it. And you can't be too downhearted. You have to know, be realistic. Every game for Brighton this season is going to be monstrous.
And they haven't been thumped today.
No.
They've lost two goals to probably 2 individual errors we talk about. Full-back gave it away, centre-back can't control his header, and the keeper never bailed him out. So it might have been different, but 2 errors and they've been punished.
Here is the Brighton boss, Chris Hughton.
You know this, don't you? How unforgiving is this Premier League?
Well, difficult, because I thought for 70 minutes in what we had to do, and there is only one way to play against a Man City team with the quality that they've got, and I thought we did it ever so well, and I think if we don't concede the first one, I don't think we concede the second one. So, we're disappointing, but that's the quality that they've got.
One error on the halfway line, Dale Stephens, and bang, they're in on goal.
Well, as I said, that's the quality they've got, and we know that. And we spent the 17 minutes before that defending most of that period of time, having some decent periods ourselves. But when you're up against world-class Champions League type quality, that what they've got, that they can hurt you. And I think what we did do is, I think for that first 17 minutes, I think we can take a lot of positives from that. What we know is we're not going to be up against that type of quality week in, week out, and we need to take the positives from that.
Because they have so much quality, you had to work for so long, so hard without the ball. Did that cause wearied legs? Did that play a part for the second goal?
Well, I think that the second goal happens because you open up a little bit. There's that disappointment of course having conceded the first one, and there's perhaps not so much to hold on to. It was always going to be difficult for us to score. It was going to be a break or a set play. Maybe it played a part, but that's what these type of teams strive on. Once the space opens up, then what they can do is they can capitalise on it.
As you say, it's not Manchester City every week. You fervently believe you have the quality to survive with the rest of the Premier League?
Yes. What we have to do is make sure that come the end of the window that we've got a squad in place that we think can do well enough in this division. The plus is, as we just said, is that we won't be up against Manchester City type quality, week in, week out. And what we have to do is we have to win the games that we can win.
Should the work permit situation be cleared on Tuesday, you'll have Izquierdo coming in, Colombian international, bags of pace there and quality.
Yes, and certainly what that will give us an offensive option, which you need in this division, because one thing that you have to be able to do is that you have to be able to score goals. So whether that's coming from your number 9 or your wide players, then you need it somewhere, and he'll certainly add to the quality we've got.
And finally, you saw the scenes. Having been here the last 2 or 3 years, how important this is to this area. There's been a real buzz living so close to ground myself. These fans won't let you be scared of any opponent. They'll be rooting for you every kick, every decision all the way through.
No, well, they've been absolutely brilliant in my time here, and I think they're realistic. They know when the likes of your Man City's come down here that it's going to be very, very difficult. But they'll certainly be behind us. It's a wonderful place to be, and it's a wonderful place and a fabulous stadium to play football. We just need to make sure that it's a harder place for the teams where we can get results to come.
Brilliant, Chris. All the best.
I think we said all of that, didn't we?
I think they were listening to us. I'm convinced of that.
But he is right, and those aren't the games, presumably, when you've got a club that's at the wrong end, you're looking at and saying, we'll get something from that. It's a bonus ball, isn't it, if you do?
Yeah, and I think that today we saw 1 or 2 bonus balls for some teams, but I think Brighton were up against a team who most people see as favourites for the Premiership. It's been a good introduction for the players to see what level they need to get to. But I heard them saying there that they didn't open up too much, and it was only at the end they started it. But there'll be games where they do have to open up, and that might be where they'll be found out. Actually, games they're expected to try and win becomes actually a little bit harder in ways nobody really expected an awful lot of them today.
I do hope they ask him about his white sneakers and black socks. Let's find out. Here's Pep Guardiola.
Pep, it was always going to be an awkward one for you today. Newly promoted team. How pleased are you with the way it went?
Well, we knew that, so we saw the old games in the Premier League this today and yesterday, how complicated it was for everybody. We knew that, so new promoted is always have without pressure, with all enthusiasms, with their crowd. But we had chances in the first minutes, and after the game was a little bit slower, and because the pitch is not easy to attack 10 guys in the box, but we controlled the counter-attacks. We didn't concede, I think, just one chance one chance in 90 minutes away, so it's not easy in the Premier League, and we create enough, so it was a little bit pity the chances we create before the goal we didn't we didn't get it. So, but so satisfied for the first game, for the way they play, and quite similar level in the precision in terms of without the ball, and we're going to improve. We're going to improve the next days the way we have to attack in this kind of defense.
Sergio Aguero worked so hard, got his goal. Can this season, can he drop back a little bit more, come out of the penalty area a little bit more, because he has Gabriel Jesus who can stay in there? Just
no. They play free. I won both when there are crosses, close the balls in the box. So it's the guys who has to score the goals, and that's why we need them there. So, and of course we need the goals for both and for the other ones.
Were you happy with the new players?
A lot. I want to say thank you to the club, because it's not just for me, it's for Manchester City. And Manchester City in the next 4, 5, 6 years have a young players with a huge talent. So last season was with Leroy and Gundo, and this season with Bernardo, with Mendy, with Danilo, with Kyle. They are young enough to play 4 or 5 years here, so it's good for Manchester City. So big congratulations for all the people working in Manchester City. We are a strong club.
And with Walker and Danilo, they can get forward so high from fullback. They play almost like wingers, don't they? For you, is this? Are you near now to where you really want to be with the squad?
No. Sometimes we will play with 4, sometimes with 5. It depends on the quality of the players. We have a lot of talent players in the middle. We will see, but I want to continue with that system with almost the same players. What we did in the last 3 games in a pre-season, and okay, we were stable. We didn't create. We have to try to improve, but the important in the first game is win the game.
Good start, well done.
Thank you so much.
See you later. Bye.
Very good start. Job very well done by Manchester City today. 2-0 winners. They've spent some money, mind you. He says, Andy, there will be occasions when he goes to a 4. Did he need 3 centre-backs today, playing against 1, occasionally 1, at Brighton?
Why didn't you ask these two who have coached?
Well, because I didn't necessarily want to drop it on their toes.
Well, listen, it's not for me to tell Pep Guardiola how to pick his team and how to set up his team against a team. What I would say is, if he wanted to play the system because he wants the players to get used to it, and they want to play in that system going on, then fine. But when he says there are certain games I will use 4, certain games I will use 5, like today, I don't get why he needed 5
well,
today.
that's what prompted the question.
Right? Because if you have 2 centre-backs today, let's say Otamendi's left out, you've got Stones and company, they would have been untroubled today. Still could have manoeuvred the ball across the back between them, not a problem there. Only had 1 forward occasionally to deal with. That meant that you could have brought another. You could still play your fullbacks high, because there's no problem coming the other way, and then you could have got a Bernardo Silva, who midfield player, creative. You could have got him into your team in the midfield area where we'd get more creativity, and it still allows you to keep the 2 at the top end of the pitch. That's what he could have done, and it was. Listen, as I say, it's not for me to tell Pep Guardiola, Richard, with the greatest respect, but sometimes I wonder why, if you've got 3 and the 2 wide players of the 3 contribute, by that I mean I couldn't get why John Stones was central. You know, if John Stones is going to be right of 3, then he can take the ball and travel down that inside right area, as it was called.
The half space.
Whatever it's called. So many names for different spaces now, into zone 12 or something, whatever it's called. He could have travelled down and he could get involved higher up the pitch, but company can't. Otamendi really can't. So that's the difference for me.
So David, never mind the specifics of City's formation today. Why all of a sudden this dramatic change in the English Premier League that teams, Arsenal of all people, back end of last season and the start of this, playing with 3 centre-backs? Why?
Well, firstly, let me say, just to sort of answer a wee bit Andy there, was to say is, Man City got an awful lot of stick for conceding goals last year, not doing the job right. Today they've had a 0 against. Now, they'll come up against bigger opposition. So I think today he set out, tried to do the job, make sure I don't concede any goals and I'll score and I'll win the game, and I think he set out to do that. There has been a dramatic change in the tactical side of the game in the Premier League. This time at the start of last season in the Premier League when I was managing, I can hardly think maybe one team had set up with 3 at the back. Now, probably the best person here to ask would be Chris.
And that wasn't Chelsea, was it, at that point?
It wasn't Chelsea, as you well know. I think it took to the game against Arsenal till they changed to a 3 at the back. because Chelsea became so good playing it, even the best teams against them, Manchester United, Arsenal's, Tottenham, had to find a way because players were getting between players. Chelsea had worked it so well. And I think at the start of this season, we were trying to work it out. We're seeing...
What is the advantage, specifically, of playing like that?
Well, actually, Andy had said about having a back four. In truth, that you're playing with 3 defenders and you've got more players up the pitch because you've got 2 wing backs who should be playing much higher up. So it gives you an advantage that way. It allows you to play always not always 2 centre forwards, but if you choose, you can get 2 centre forwards in your team as well. I think that it's become a little bit in fashion just now. I think everybody in the Premier League, all the managers, will have to have a way of going to 3 at the back in some games, undoubtedly because of the teams they're playing against. And again, Chris played it in the Euros and done it incredibly well, and they were really successful with it. I think also the players you have at your disposal, I'll not talk about Wales, but Ramsey and Bale could both easily play behind the centre forward. I think last year with Pedro and Hazard for Chelsea behind Costa was something which suited the players they've got. It meant that Hazard didn't have to run so far back. It meant that Pedro didn't need to run so far back if they were playing. So I do think that a lot of the teams have adopted it, and I think actually most of the teams have to have plan B up their sleeve.
You were playing it some time before the Euros, weren't you? Why did you go to it?
I had a good conversation with David in the last few days about it. When I changed from 4-3-3 to this formation, we were absolutely lambasted.
When was that? What time?
Oh, this is 3 years, just over 3 years ago we started. I did it, Moyes hit the nail on the head. You can only do it if you've got the right players. If you've got the right players, you can pretty much look at a system and go, who's the best players? And let's get them into a formation that suits them and gets you best players in the best positions. It's not rocket science. So I did it because Gareth Bale and Ramsey, I'll be honest. Where can I get them that they're going to do most damage when we get possession and protects them when we're out of possession, or protects us? And that's why
So where was that? Those 2 off a centre forward?
2 10s, Bale and Ramsey, behind a striker.
And then behind your 2 10s?
2 holding midfielders who never move. For us, our 2 holding midfielders, it's not like what Man City do. Our 2 holding midfield players do not move. They back up play.
They don't go ahead of the ball?
They must never go ahead of the ball. Never go ahead of the ball. They back it up. If we're in the opposition's box and all the opposition players are back, then they can go and press and go higher. We've always got the 3 centre backs, but our wing backs, our wide guys, they have to affect the play more than what the 2 wing backs for Man City did today offensively.
And they've got permission to go
all the
simultaneously if they want, and cause trouble up there.
We attack with 5, we defend with 5. Very basic. We attack with 5. International football is quite slow, and sometimes it can be, and then all of a sudden, bang, somebody will ask you a huge question. They'll counter-attack you with pace and power. So we try to nullify that. We don't want to get done on counter-attack. So we defend with 5, we attack with 5. And that's what Man City, I think, going back to what Andy said about why he played with 3 and not played with more forwards on the pitch. Listening to Pep Guardiola in the past, he doesn't like strikers or forward players to be up there waiting. He likes them to be arriving. He likes players to arrive, and I think he must have looked at Brighton and thought they could defend on a low block.
Low block, yes.
Which they did. Defended with 2 strikers who were actually playing 30 yards from their own goal.
Playing free, and two banks of 4, and said, "Come and break us down." I don't think Man City stretched them. I was listening to Danny Murphy talking about. Go on. I was listening to Danny Murphy saying, when you haven't got the ball and you run in and run. I don't think Brighton did that much running because they were only 30 yards from goal. No, they didn't move them a lot, did they?
And Man City didn't use their wing backs.
But if you've got that system to accommodate good players, if that's what you're saying, the system's driven by the players, and you like it, why would you then change? Why would you go to a 4 in games?
Because if it's not working,
so it is. It's, you're comfortable with it. It looks good.
If it looks, it's not. Well, if it looks good, it's
Chelsea never changed. To be fair, once they switched last year, they kept 3 at the back for the whole season. Never moved from the Arsenal game.
Once they switched,
that was it. Yeah. Once they switched it after Arsenal or half time at Arsenal, he never changed.
See, I've never understood that when a team that's used to playing in a certain way adjusts to accommodate the opposition. It's almost as though you've given away the first advantage.
Well, let me say, Arsene Wenger made a change last night from 3 at the back to 4 at the back, brought on 2 different players and won the game. One of the biggest things for a coach and a manager now is your in-game changes, how you affect the game, how you change it. And that's probably become even more so now. And obviously, people like ourselves analysing all the moves, looking at what's going on. And you'd have to say, we discussed it a little bit earlier. We thought Arsene Wenger done a really good job with his changes. We weren't quite so sure about Craig Shakespeare. And we were discussing if Manchester City could have done more to create more chances and more opportunities. But my point about today's game was Man City done what they had to do, made sure they didn't concede a goal, whether it was 3, 4 or 5 at the back. I think the Premier League's meaning that you have to have different systems up your sleeve. But I do think today, if we looked, there's a majority of the teams have probably started with a back 3 with 3 central defenders.
I've got the answer for you, David, very quickly. Go on. Won't be surprised to hear. 16 teams played today and last night. I've got 7 games today, 1 game last night. 6 teams started with a back 3, 10 with a back 4.
All back tomorrow. I hope you've enjoyed watching the biggest football show on the planet. It's great to be back. I hope you share those sentiments. We all gather once again tomorrow and look forward to your company.